Hello and welcome to Taking Back Saturday, a Happy Buyers Club podcast where we break down the real estate market each and every Friday to help home buyers build confidence, follow a process, and hopefully buy really happy. I'm your host, Chayse Jones, and joining me, as he does and will be for the rest of 2025, is real estate daddy, my mate, Sam Hunter. How are you, mate?
Happy New Year.
How good?
We're back.
Hey, many moons ago, we started this podcast with an 8-part buyer series. And we thought, what better way to kickstart 2025 than to do it all again?
There's a bit of pressure on us because it was like every lead, if you want to call that, every inquiry we ever got, we said, hey, before you want to use us or work with us, just listen to these 8 20-minute podcasts. It'll probably help you buy a house. And they are by far and away the most listened to episodes of this entire show. And we listened to them again. And the audio's not that great.
It's like, how do you actually listen to it unless you've got it captioned? Because we were recording it at the time in a little sunlit office in a shared office space.
No soft furnishings.
Yeah, look at it now.
For sure. I mean, it was good value because of the echo. You got to hear all the good stuff twice.
It's like, hey, double down on that. Just, did you hear that? Write it down.
Yeah. These better be as good.
Yeah.
They better not just sound better. They better be as good.
Nice one. Well, I mean, this podcast exists for one reason only, and that is so that you, as a listener, as a buyer or, to-be buyer, will forever have the knowledge, information, understanding, and confidence to go and buy the right home at the right time for the right price. And it's plain and simple as that.
This is a DIY series.
Yeah. And like, I know for a lot of people, the thought of buying a house, or if you're in the process of attempting to buy a home, it can be absolutely terrifying.
For sure. I mean, that is the clip from the very first episode of this show is what is, like at the start of the show, cue the song, buying a house sucks.
Yeah.
Like it is scary.
And if we can just give you some little tools, some little, not tricks, but just processes that you can follow so that you can go out and this process can just feel a little bit less terrifying, then it's mission accomplished for us.
For sure. And I think that's the key thing. It is a process. And there are an order of which to do things that just relieve a lot of the stress and a lot of the pressure. And that just helps you think clear enough and almost push the emotion to the side when you find something you really like, that you end up making better decisions. And ideally, even if it's $1,000, saving money is a big thing in real estate, right? So yeah, there is, in our view at least, a good way of doing things from start to finish that gives yourselves the best chance at spending the least time in the market possible and getting the right house, as you said, at the right price.
Well, the process starts with preparation.
I know, lame. We talk about it every week. This is just, you're 50 episodes deep, you're talking about the same stuff?
But this is like foundational preparation, not like pre-weekend prep. This is like before you're even looking. You need to be preparing for what's to come.
For sure. I think if you think about the generic house hunting experience, it starts with a conversation. Probably like we're doing this in the new year because so many people make a decision over Christmas time to live closer to or further away from their friends and family.
Depending how Christmas Day and Boxing Day went.
And so a lot of that starts with a conversation of, geez, it's nice here, we should move here. Or how do we get away from your parents? Or whatever that might be, right? And so they download realestate.com and they might go to an open home. And if they happen to fall in love with that house, they really have no means to buy it well. You can certainly buy it with a bit of stress and probably spending a bit of money, but it doesn't set yourself up for success in our definition of the word.
Yeah. For those that follow this podcast to a T, you are going to be putting yourself, like separating yourselves from the lookers.
For sure.
Because you will be putting yourself in the position of a buyer. By being prepared, by having these conversations ahead of time, by doing these exercises, you are immediately a step ahead of all the others who made a decision over Christmas to be like, oh, that looks fun, let's go look at it. And immediately they get there and they're like, oh man, we got to scramble here to make this happen. You're coming from a position of preparation, of hopefully confidence, and hopefully that gives you some buying power.
For sure. We're talking, and it's not a great deal of work. I think realistically, if you put your mind to it, you could do everything we're going to talk about in the next 15 minutes in a week.
Yeah.
That's all it takes. And then that week will save you potentially 6 months. and we'll start making you money by investing that time. We talk about with our clients all the time, the right preparation always leads to the right property.
Yep, love that. But yeah, and the longer it takes you to buy that house, the more it's going to cost you.
For sure.
Whether it be with market growth or just the compromise that you will find along the way because you didn't prepare properly to begin with. Okay, exercise number 1. Now this is a Sam Hunter's like certified exercise special. Run us through the post-it note exercise.
We should probably think about giving us a name and trademarking it. Again, there's not a great deal of like technology relating back to this, but it does work and it stimulates the sort of necessary, courageous conversations between buying parties. Everything we're going to talk about, we're going to imagine that it's 2 people, husband, wife, wife, partners, buy a house together. That is by far and away the majority of the people that listen to this show and the people that probably like the help that we're offering, and it's certainly the majority of the clients that we deal with. So
it's not to say that if you are buying by yourself, you can't do this exercise. It's
sure.
just far simpler.
You probably just won't have the arguments that come with it, and you'll drink an entire bottle of wine instead of half a bottle of wine, right? So it is go down to Kmart, buy a multicolored packet of Post-it notes and split them up between you and whoever you're buying with, and write down what is most important to you in your next property. The ones that match, they're your non-negotiables. That's the things where you guys are a team, you're high-fiving. That is what we are absolutely looking for in a house. They go into a pile and we're not moving from those. If the house doesn't tick that box, we probably won't even go to the open home.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that don't match get discussed. So that is where Sam and Chayse have got to sit down and be like, Sam, why do you want a golf sim? Right? That
because it brings me joy, Chase.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so you want to go and have these conversations now, because the last thing that you want to do is go to a house and have to have that conversation on a Saturday afternoon when there's multiple offers in play. Anything that you then agree on between your nice to have list can go into the non-negotiables, and it just adds to the pile, right? It's like we've discussed this. We're not willing to compromise on. We have to have a pool. It is going in the non-negotiables. We don't want to put one in. Pools are expensive to build now. It's got to be existing. If it stays in the debate list, it's just a nice to have.
100%.
It's like an absolute bonus, probably just for one of you, right? If you end up buying a house for that. And it includes as well in those lists, it's not just bedrooms, bathrooms, land size, type of property, suburbs that you want to live in. It's what you want to spend. Because so many people go into this, they download the app, they go to open homes, and they have a differing opinion on what is comfortable for them and what is comfortable for their family. And they invariably miss out because they haven't had a tough enough conversation early to really know what they want and what they're willing to spend.
100%. And then, furthermore, it's where do you want to be? What school catchments do you want to be in? Having, go deep, keep thinking, this is not a 2-minute, stop the clock, show me what you've written down. Really think about it. If this property was to be out there, what would you want it to look like? Where would you want it to be? What is the condition of it? Am I willing to do work? Are we wanting to do the work? Do you want the work done? What is the work? Yeah. Exactly. Go deep and talk about it. It doesn't have to be done in secrecy and silence. Talk about it as it's happening. And then you're right. Put them all out on the table, sort them into, and then note them down for sure. Actually write it down so that you have a hard copy. You're not carrying the Post-it notes around for the next 6 weeks while you go to open homes. Write it down so you've got a master doc. That is this is what we're looking for.
It just, the Post-it notes, for all the sort of fun that we have talking about it, it does stimulate conversation. It gets you guys questioning what's important to you, and it just helps you get a lot more clarity. As you say, you're a buyer, you're not just a browser. You know what you're looking for, and you're only going to see what you are looking for. Therefore, you get the opportunity almost every weekend to make a decision instead of just walk around a house and go, that was nice, but a waste of time. And the reason why we say do it with a bottle of wine is it should take a little while, right? Wine might help with the conversation. Wine might get everyone just speaking their truth a little bit bolder and a little bit more straightforward. Wine might lead to some other things when you're celebrating and agreeing on your non-negotiables as well. So it's meant to be an hour-long conversation, or however long it takes you to drink a bottle of wine. If you're doing it in 15 minutes, maybe you are doing it by yourself.
And once you've compiled that what that non-negotiable house looks like, or townhouse or unit, that's what you're then communicating to agents moving forward.
You got a brief. How good's that?
You've just written yourself a buyer brief. Well done. You're becoming your own buyer's agent here, guys.
Ideally, you've had a bit of fun doing it, and it's something that when you're sitting at that dinner party and you're talking to friends and they're saying to you, we're thinking about moving too, but we haven't found what we're looking for yet. You can say, do you know what you're looking for? And give them the leftover Post-it notes. There you go, because you won't use them all. And away you go.
All right. So now we know what we're looking for, and we've agreed that as a buying partnership. next step, assemble a team.
For sure. And I think what often comes out of that exercise for people who are doing it early is they've got an idea of what they think they want to spend, but no one's told them what they can spend. And so our view, and this is just the way that we've seen it work time and time and time again, is once you kind of get a sense for what you're looking for, it's can you afford it and how do you get the money? And you have to go and talk to a mortgage broker. You don't need that formal piece of paper on day one, but they will give you confidence around if this is what you want to buy, can you actually afford it?
For sure. And like picking the right broker is about, them understanding not only, what you want, but why you want that loan.
For sure.
And not just the need for the loan. A good broker could be saving you, tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars over the term of the loan as well. So making sure that you find a good broker, communicate well with them, and have these conversations as well ahead of time, so that you're not chasing your tail once you find the property. You want to be setting yourself up so that you can go and attack the market.
Like a mortgage is effectively a 30-year subscription payment, right? That just feels like it gets a little bit less about 25 years in. It's not just about can we get access to that money to buy that house today. It's what does that loan allow us to do when our life changes? Can we redraw from that to buy an investment property? Can we redraw from that to pay for kids' school fees? Does it have an offset account? Does that help us control, to a degree at least, the level of interest that we're going to be paying over that 30 years? Again, that's where the difference of you get a home loan with an offset account, you might save 200 grand in interest over 20 years, let alone 30 years. That's real money that will hopefully then be able to be put somewhere else in a fund for your retirement, for your super, for school fees, whatever it might be, right? So it's not just about, hey Chase, hey Rach, what do you guys earn? Cool, you can borrow this. It's why do you want to borrow that? And you told me these are all your non-negotiables. Why do you need all this sort of stuff? Because actually you could go and get all of that and some of your nice to haves with this loan in this suburb for this type of property, right? So a good mortgage broker is more than just somebody who will get you access to the cash. They'll understand where your life is now. They'll understand where you want your life to be in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. And they will make sure that the loan structure that you've got kind of serves all those purposes along the way as well. So there's one eye on today to make sure you can get that right property at the right price as soon as you're ready for it. But there's another eye on, let's make sure that this suits you for the long term.
For sure. And I love the fact that you referenced like real money, because it's not just about what is the maximum amount of money that I can borrow here. It's about what's actually comfortable for us in our life right now. Do a budget.
Yeah, man.
And I know that sounds so lame, but having that document, that budget, again, written out, shared between the two of you, spoken about, having conversations about where money's being spent, and then understanding what the surplus is that could go towards a mortgage as opposed to rent if you're paying it, whatever it may be. But having such a clear picture of what's coming in and what's going out and what that would look like then when we retrofit the numbers from our great mortgage broker into that budget. It just, again, coming from a place of confidence, because you're like, we can afford this. If we were to pay X amount for this house, it's not going to ruin our lives. We're just going to have a really boring, low spend life in our new great house because we're eating noodles.
Yeah,
baked beans, baby.
The HBC cliche comment of 2024. It is not worth spending every penny you have, because then you just move into your house and all you can do is eat baked beans. That's not the point of real estate. That's not the point of being a homeowner. That's not the point of buying an investment property, right? It's there to amplify your lifestyle, right? It's there to tick a lot of boxes for you and your family, or you and yourself, or whatever it might be. It's not there to just stress you the fuck out.
For sure. And it's now and into the future. And a lot of great real estate decisions are boring, but they are long-term.
For sure.
And they come from, courageous conversations about money. They come from courageous conversations about what life looks like now, what life's going to look like in the future, and what the house or the dwelling or the shelter is going to be like for that future. And then getting the right people in your corner to make that all happen.
You talked about doing a budget. So we had a client, I don't know, March last year. And usually when we sit down with somebody around a dining room table, there's like an air of defeat. They've been looking for a long time. They know what they want. They've just missed out on a few things, or they're just too time poor. These guys were like, yeah, we haven't really started, but we like you. We think just do it for us. And we're like, okay, what do you want to spend? Where are you? And They weren't married at the time. They'd never done a budget whatsoever. They had no idea of each other's sort of finances, discretionary spend, anything like that. And it was where we started. And the change in these guys, and they're very happily bought and lived in, so hopefully not listening to this show right now. But
We love you guys.
Yeah, the change from them, from that meeting to even 6 weeks later
Yeah.
when we bought them a property, was they understood that they hadn't bought a house because they were spending a reasonable amount of money every month on stuff they didn't need. And when they stopped spending that money, their affordability dramatically increased, but the lifestyle didn't really change. And suddenly they could buy for about 150 grand more than they thought they could because of this one category of spend, their dream home. And it was, I think I put up my family budget in the first meeting, copy, create duplicate, change the initials, delete all our numbers. And I was like, here you go, guys. We'll do it together.
And keep the post-it notes as well, because at the same time, they got so clear in a pretty short space of time about not only where their money was going, what money they could access, what more money they could access if they stopped spending the way they were, but also what each other wanted. We came into that room being like, guys, I think we need to leave.
Yeah, you don't need us.
You guys need to sort some stuff out. Hey, it was a happy ending,
For sure.
because they got their shit together and could move from a place of like where they both agreed on stuff, which was fantastic to see.
For sure. And bought a really good house pretty soon after. So yeah, like coming back to that point of like spend a week to save 6 months. The success in real estate is all in the preparation.
100%. We have speaking of meetings and sitting down with clients, we have a meeting, once we've gone through feasibility, what you want, what does the brief look like, called a ready to offer meeting. Not that we ever expect to buy the very first property that we see after we've engaged a new client, but we could.
You want to be ready.
And we want to be ready. We don't want to miss one because we just didn't have the conversations about, just things like, who's your mortgage broker? Have you spoken to them about a pre-approval? What could you potentially offer in terms of days for a finance clause? How much of a deposit are you comfortable spending? Where is that money? Is it locked up in artwork and crypto, or is it money that's actually in an account? Have you got a preferred solicitor? Do you want a preferred solicitor?
Yeah.
For us, having all that information ready so that we could bang.
You're writing an offer, and the only thing that's not on it is the price and the address.
That's right.
That's it.
Yeah. Even for us, it's easy. For our clients, it's easy because we've got a lot of the contacts ready to go. But even having a building and pest inspector or a couple of them that you have heard great things about, that you've been recommended, and having their numbers just saved in your phone. Just one less thing to think about. Imagine just decreasing the friction. It's a pretty stressful thing. I'll tell you what, it's stressful trying to find a house, but imagine finding one and then being like, oh my God, what do I do now? That's a different kind of stress, because that's the stress of losing something that you really want. Decrease the friction. Have everything ready to go. I know who my solicitor is. I might have even emailed them and introduced myself saying that I'm on the hunt. I've got 2 numbers for great building and pest inspectors who I know I could call and say, hey, I'm friends with Sam and Chayse. Can you do next Wednesday? Having money ready to go in accounts to execute on deposits if they needed to be dropped into an account the day of contract. Having a broker that you've spoken to about, where's my max lend? This is where I want to be comfortably. How I can offer, a 2-day finance clause if I needed to. Bang, off and away we go.
We had a property put under contract on the December 17th.
Yep.
With a 3-day finance clause, because the way that we bought it for the price that we bought it for, which was like 8% less than what RP Data had it valued at, was because we said we'd be unconditional before Christmas.
Yep.
And that stuff, because that client was fully prepared, broker, building and pest inspector, solicitor, all comfortable with, all spoken to, ready to rock and roll. It was a busy 3 days, but I got it done. And on the 20th of December, everyone's high-fiving and happy days, and we're playing golf.
Sure. It's an awesome result for the buyer. It was a necessary result for the seller, and they wanted those assurances before Christmas. And it meant that everyone had to get on the same page, be like, hey guys, we are working to a deadline, but it wasn't like we dropped it on their desk and said, hey, make the miracle happen. It was spoken about before the offer was made. Everyone's like, hey, can we do this? Yes, we're all confident. Go. Let's execute on it. And what an awesome way to wrap up the year.
Like 4 hours to spare.
Yeah. Easy. Like, book that round in Maniffy. We're going. Yeah. I mean, there's every single weekend people fall in love with houses before they've gotten prepared.
For sure.
And they miss out because of that. And hopefully by just doing these pretty simple exercises and, having these conversations and getting yourself sorted out, you're not going to be one of those people.
My favorite saying is slow down and speed up. This entire 20 minutes, 22 minutes. I don't know how long we go for. This is what it is. If you're making a decision that you're buying a house this year, next year, whenever you are, do all the legwork up front as much as possible so that you have everything ticked away. And it's just like, do we like the house? If we like the house, what will we pay? And we're going to talk about how you understand value in a couple of weeks. Do all this work, listen to that podcast in 3 weeks, buy a house the week after that, and we'll talk about what happens after that.
Love it. Sam, welcome back to Taking Back Saturday for 2025. He's Sam. I'm Chase. Cue the song.